So sitting here with Steve Burris, and wanted to have some conversations, some questions, and answer the question of, well, for those who don't know, maybe who is Steve Burris, and then a little bit of your history, which will lead to why you made some decisions recently. So,
all right.
Who is Steve Burris?
Who is Steve Burris? According to the real estate world and according to my wife. Yeah. So, two big things, difference, right? So, Steve Burris started, got a real estate license in the year 2000. Then did the typical thing, Remax, Metro First. And then in 2009, so wanted to start a new concept, which was Kivo Properties, which was agents helping agents really, in kind of a revenue share model. So started that journey in 2009, actually January of 2010 was really the first day it started.
So roughly almost 13 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
A little over 13 years ago.
Almost, yeah. Got hauled in by the commission immediately my first 30 days of business. So I thought, I have 3 agents and I'm about to go under, right out of the gate. But got through it with no problem. And then over the next years, we ended up expanding from Oklahoma City to Tulsa with an office. Then they had an office in Tennessee, Texas, Colorado. That was, pre-COVID, and then started pulling everything back because of overhead, and just things changed. Things started changing.
So you mentioned, and we'll probably talk a little bit about this because this was one of the questions I had when I made some decisions in my business. So, talking about the overhead of running a business.
Yeah.
And it's funny is that you'll talk to people, and so the idea of a business is to be profitable, right? Why is a business going to be profitable? So you can be paying bills, but working for free.
Yes, that's right. From December, January, and then hopefully at the end of February, you start not having to pay to work here as an owner.
Well, yeah, because
I'm not kidding.
We've done that. We've had some expansion groups with our team, and the thing is, when we closed it down, it wasn't about that we were losing money so much, but we weren't making money. If you spend 10 hours a week for 52 weeks in the year, and you make $10 at the end of the year, your net is $10. That's not a good productive year of your time and energy.
No, and you're working. And you're working. You are really. It's not like you're at home. You're really spending the hours busting it to come back to break even some months.
Working for other people.
That's right.
Yep.
Right.
So then, so you're in multi-states, COVID happened, now you've made a decision to join eXp.
Yeah, absolutely.
So walk us through that process. So you're in MLS, always top 5 brokerage in MLS and sold transactions.
Always in both, markets, top 10, usually always in top 10 in both markets.
But largest independent, you were the most productive independent brokerage, right?
I always say that, sure, we had a lot of agents. We went up to 350 something agents at one point, and thought we were headed to 4. I thought we were headed to 400, 500, and then and I think I told you this is that over the Kivo team and myself, we've recruited over. I know it's over 2,000 agents in the last 10 years, and I looked and I thought we had 258 left after recruiting over 2,000. So talk about that, because if you're watching this and you're an independent brokerage or you're part of an independent brokerage or whatever, so over 2,000 agents, right? And I'm part of that accusations audit mentality. Chris Voss, call it what it is. Where did all these other agents go? What did you help create? Well, it'd be one thing if you thought, okay, I've recruited 2,000 agents, and they, 80% of them basically would, if I said 80% quit, you'd think you're terrible, right? You're a terrible recruiter.
Not good at training.
That's right, and that's actually not the case. There's probably 5 to 6 other brokerages that were built. From Kivo, they started here, mentored here, trained here, and then, and which is totally fair, everybody at some point thinks maybe I want some ownership, right? And being owners, you go this is what's left on those months that is not very much. So how do you divide that up between multiple owners?
Right.
It just doesn't. There wasn't a path, and I couldn't break the code to figure out. We were good at recruiting, good at training, good rev share model, but then they don't stay. So that's crazy to keep doing it over and over.
It becomes a part where how do you create something that can't be easily replicated from an owner perspective?
Oh yeah.
Right. So on a local level, you're the king, but eventually somebody goes, I too would like to be king.
Yeah, and you get a broker's license, and you get your
Pied Piper and you flute, and
you go.
60 people go with you.
That's right. And now there is a new kingdom built,
and then
and you've just built and trained your competition,
and show them a great model with the few tweaks that the just being full transparent. The conversation is, oh, but if I was king,
yeah,
I would do things like this.
Yes, yes.
And then they grow, and then unfortunately, we've even seen with some of those, they've developed their own kingdoms as well.
Oh, kingdoms spawn other kingdoms, and we'll just keep going. It's just the way it works. And
what's interesting about that, I mean, that's with the full transparency of a conversation with brokers, owners, and agents is, that was for me, that was one of the things when number one thing when we called is. Or made the decision, people were calling us when we made the decision to move from an independent brokerage over to eXp. They would say, "Oh, I heard you were failing. I heard you were going broke." I'm like, "No, my wife sold 840 transactions last year. Even if my brokerage was not doing well, we're okay."
Yeah.
But our independent agents were productive. One of our independent agents that transferred over, he sold, guy named Cameron, he sold 69 transactions, last year. I don't take credit for that, but sure. No, he's doing okay. I think our independent agents are doing okay,
Yeah.
So it wasn't about a production thing. It was every year. It's my leadership team, we're talking about hey, how do we create something that's, that not replicatable, not duplicatable? How do we create something that, that nobody else, or not so much what nobody else can do, but, honestly, because when people leave, they leave in groups. They gather.
They do. Whether it's teams,
Yes.
You've had all that happen to you too, a few times.
We've met a few good teams out there.
Yeah, that's right. So you kind of look at it, and then honestly, when I spent almost probably 2 years just thinking, okay, do I have to change my model? What do I have to do? And I could not. I couldn't solve the problem. Mm-hmm. And several years ago, I had a call from eXp. I said no. I've trash talked them. Honestly, I've said bad crap because I didn't know what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And then I finally, it was actually after that I knew you and Tara and trusted you guys and respected you guys and thought, and then when I heard you moved to eXp, that was one of my first calls was Peter, what in the hell have you done? Have you lost your mind?
Well, because we were friends. We have a couple other business ventures together, and I kind of didn't I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to call and be hey, yeah. So yeah, it was the call I did. I think I did a Facebook Live, and you're like, hey, whoa. Yeah. We had our own eXp trash talk session, which honestly I did as well. And that's just in full transparency. It's one, they were our competition, right?
Yes.
People were calling, and agents were like, hey, they offer this, and we're like, well, let me tell you why they do.
Yes, yes. Well, I'll spin this gimmick.
Well, David Goggins is one of the things that kind of hit me in my own gut. David Goggins has this quote that says, "You'll never meet a hater doing better than you." And that was one of the things I was like, okay, if I'm hating on them, why? Because I've always felt like in a value, that was always the thing. If I go on a listing presentation and somebody would say, why are you better than John? And if I have to say, well, John just sucks. John goes to the lake every week, and he doesn't answer his phone. And I spend 20 minutes trash talking John. I didn't tell this person why I'm better. I just spent the whole time trying to piss on John enough that they don't want to work with John. And then I realized that was my value. In the listing, I just go, well, let me tell you what I do, and then in the end, you're going to see the own value. And when that was one of the things that kind of made me start thinking a little bit when I began to look at the model. I said, wait a minute. most of my conversations were about when they would bring up another, it was like I was, telling them, not things that I'd actually heard, but just made up stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, when I came to eXp, everybody, the couple of calls I got was like, so how big was your signing bonus? Like, signing bonus?
Yeah, because we're going to talk about that if you got one, because I didn't.
I did not get one. No shoe deals. No shoe deals, right? No, but and now the next question is like, well, I would have got a shoe deal. I would have asked for something. I was like, it wasn't about, it was about finally seeing a value. So let me, you didn't get any shoe deals?
No, I got no shoe deals. No. Okay. And I'm not going bankrupt.
And you weren't going bankrupt.
No.
Right, you didn't make a decision because
not to buy another company.
The ship's sinking. We got to switch over. No, it wasn't about, and I think that's what happens is when you make a decision like this, because again we talked about we were those people who were like, well, let me tell you, blah 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 blah. When the truth is, it was, why did you make the decision?
Because ultimately, I mean, really, I've always said, and I've told my agents forever, anytime new company came out, or I got a call from one of the New Jersey companies that wanted to, hey, you should be this and this, and I'd go always look, because I thought, if it's better, if it really is better for my agents, I'll be the first one to join. And I've said it. Mm-hmm. I have said it openly. They've heard me say it. And when you just look at the numbers and you go, is it better for my agents? And that's the way I did it. All of our big leaders here at Kivo, they all went because I just presented. I go, here's our model, here's their model. Which one do you like better? After explaining, and they all said, well, eXp's better. And it's like, and it was ultimately it's better for me. It frees me up all this stupid overhead and just crap to go focus on what I actually like to do. Build, train, recruit it, and agents, and my agents love it. So it's like, how do you, then after I knew that, how can you go out and sell something you know is not the best?
Are you telling me as a broker, owner of a company, you don't enjoy those real estate commission phone calls?
Yeah, and I've said on both sides of that, right?
Yeah, you were a commissioner.
Yeah, I know. I get to know. It's there's a lot funner things to do in the world of real estate, and that's why you got in it, because it can be a blast. But you don't want to deal with the daily stuff, which is what eXp's doing. It comes down to for me, a lot of it was a math problem, and I know I was a pain in the butt. And you went after, like, here, do you need more numbers? You need more numbers, and hooked me up with eXp was dynamic, of really just being like, hey, we'll help.
Yep.
And they did. And
that was what was fascinating. One was your openness, because you were an open book. You're like, here's access to my spreadsheets. Here's access to the back office. Here's access to everything. And they dug into it, and then showed, they took your model, what you were making. You were making money.
Yeah.
Kivo was profitable.
Yep.
And then said, here's the model, and this is the trajectory. And it was, that was amazing. I think if those don't know, it was about a 2.5, 3 month process.
It was. That's why I said it's a pain.
No. But what was fascinating about it is, one, there were so many people who cared, right? Cared to find out about the different stuff. Two, it was, making a smart business decision, right? We make decisions out of emotion and justify them with logic. So like emotionally, you felt like it was a time to make a decision. The logic, they helped you build the logic, which I thought was fantastic.
They did. And you have to get, as soon as I started talking about, even with my wife, we started, when you take a company that you built, you create its name, you create this whole thing around it, and then you look at it and you go, okay, well, joining eXp, you're giving up. Like, I had to look and go, okay, well, Kivo was, kind of our business baby, right? And then you're kind of like, you feel like you got, even with the agents, it was like, well, how is that going to be, what happens to Kivo and the name? And it's like, but ultimately, you have to you have to do what's the best thing. You have to give up, you have to die to yourself. You have to give up your ego, and you just have to go, what they do is better for everybody. And it's like, once you know that, and and I wished I'd have been more open faster. And I don't remember who said this, maybe Gene said it, but I looked at I agree that the franchise model that I've been a part of for, before I started Kivo, that model, is dead and dying. Mm-hmm. It's over. I mean, this is the new way. And it just makes sense. Why would agents, they get a shot at being owners? Like everything that they've always left me for was like, now you got the opportunity, you can be an owner, right? And nobody's fighting. And a matter of fact, I'll help you do it, right?
Right.
Which is, I've gotten more help. Now I'm somebody who, we used to, we compete and be in the same market. Now I've got you jumping on board trying to help me build my business. So, and then so many more people are all doing it, which is like, it's the first time ever as an owner.
Well, we kept our secrets. We're not sharing nothing. But because honestly, when you're a business owner, you take the emotion out of it. Why would I train my competition? Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And now it becomes this whole opportunity. It's like, wow, if we're better together, we're moving together, we're all successful. Your success now is my success, and every one of your agents is their success is now my success. So I want to see them better, and that was one of the big eye openers for me. It's like, wow, we can actually join together and move forward together as a group, and not just in Oklahoma, but literally across the country. Like other states now, there's the opportunity to grow. Which, when we made the move, that was probably one of my favorite things was being able to call agents who had moved to other states and say, how do you want to be back in the world? And they were like, oh my goodness, yes. And so that's how we ended up with an agent in South Carolina, an agent in Florida, an agent in Colorado, because it was being able to, just call all our friends back.
It's pretty cool. It's in my conversations, I'm already experiencing the same thing. It is when you're trying to convince somebody to come join, our Kivo is an old company. Mm-hmm. It's like, it was difficult, right? I mean, and now the conversations I've had with agents in Texas, Florida, which I've already got an agent there already, it's just the conversation's completely different. You're walking in, they're going, well, I was really thinking about joining eXp anyway.
Your agents were in your group?
In my group, yes. And even new agents that I'm even talking with, and even my own agents, when I was saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this, and they were going, I was really interested in doing it. And it's like, okay, well, I can't imagine it. Well, the possibilities of what we're going to do now, mm-hmm. Instead of operating like two different groups, us operating together, watch out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know when, because we are friends, and before we made this both move, because you're at dinner, you're like, what do I not say? What do I do?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's like strategic in all those conversations. Now they're, and yes. I wanted to jump back for just a second because it's if you're an independent agent or an independent owner of a brokerage or something like that, that ego thing.
It's big.
It was hard for Tara and I. Like I want to say, I don't know if we've ever publicly spoke about this, but literally we made the move. We made the announcement. I did a Facebook Live with Mike and Moody. We talked about it and high fives and hugs and everything and literally Tara and I woke up. And she kind of looked at me, and I looked at her, and we've been together since we were 15, so we can kind of read each other, and we were like, WTF? We actually sounded it out. Like, what did we just do?
I did exactly the same thing.
We had an identity crisis. It was like, oh my goodness, we just killed our baby.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And I know that.
And that's just in full transparency. And then what's funny is. I say funny, what's pretty amazing is, because we kind of made the move in October, but it took us about 60 days to make the transition. And then so I usually say about January 1 is really when our team embraced. We went in, we were following the systems, processes, we're in the world, we get the stock share works, and we have all these different things going, the rev shares, we're doing all the rev share stuff like that. And Tara and I were at dinner, and she just out of the blue, she goes, thank you. And I was like, what? She's like, I know I came into this kicking and screaming, and mostly, not very pleased with you. She's like, but I've always, and she said, I trusted you. And you said, I'm thankful. This is one of the best decisions we've ever made, and one of the best things that you ever led us into. And honestly, call her up, she'll tell you. Call Tara, 414-8750. She'll tell you that. She was just like, I know I gave you some hard time, because it wasn't like the next day we had that and then we were like high fives and hugs again. No. She, you know, it was, I had moments of doubt. She had moments of doubt where she expressed, I don't know why we're doing this. Because it is. There is the hardest thing that I've learned is when I'm having conversations with people is, it's not the fees, it's not the, well, I don't know if rev share works, it's a lot of it's that ego, because you spent if you have a brokerage or you have a franchise or you're running a large team, you know, you've had the eXp negative conversations typically.
Sure.
Right? Because you
had it.
Right? Because, you know, you'll never meet a hater doing better than you, and then it's that frustration, like you see what they're doing and you know the value's there, and you just go. And then the other thing is, you've been creating this. Right, that's your baby. Those signs, the brokerage, the growth, you know, the tribe. Yeah, that's your tribe, and it's almost like admitting to yourself that, is there a better tribe? Right? Did Glenn Sanford create a better tribe? And for me, it was realizing that it wasn't that my tribe was going away, but my tribe was evolving. Right, my tribe, the Levinson Real Estate team, the Levinson Real Estate group, you know, and I call it the LRE Better Together Network. Like, no, we evolved. We went from like a caterpillar, and now we're like a butterfly. You know, but I've never heard of butterflies don't talk, but I would assume a butterfly wouldn't look back and go,
oh, that Street, they don't.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you don't hear like a caterpillar look, you know, a butterfly looking at a caterpillar and go, man, that caterpillar life is so much better. You know, I don't like this flying around and beautiful wind. I wish I was so no, it's that evolution. It's that cocoon time, that time's the tunnel. That's the hard part. And when you get to the side, you're like, okay, I'm glad I did it.
No, there's a relief. I do owe you and Tara a big thank you, actually, because if you hadn't have stayed, you know, persistent, you know, we might, you know, and Micah Hermoudi, like, stayed persistent, and you know what you think at first is like, because it's such to do this is all that emotion and changing, right? And it's hard, right? So you want people that will stick in there and go like, hey, yeah, this will be fine, and then they keep helping all the way with even the emotional side of this thing. So, you know, I'm grateful because I know what this is going to turn into.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it happening.
Just in week and a half, 2 weeks since the actual transition, I've already seen just your agents that were in your group. I see that their lives changing. I see their excitement. You know, people who weren't super passionate about real estate, all of a sudden like there's like this new fire. You know,
absolutely,
which is pretty amazing.
You can see it all over. No, it's amazing. You know, and every day I get a phone call from, you know, I'm getting phone calls from other brokerages, and I think we're all just like, there's got to be a better way.
Right.
And this truly, to me, it's like I've spent enough time looking at it. I just think everybody should look at it. But it's a hook. I'm going to tell you right now, because you know it's like my phone call to you was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And basically, I did it. I started it, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Okay, well, okay, it makes sense. I'm in."
Well, and I would encourage, because I had heard, you know, I'm sure you'd probably heard the model a million different times before you and I spoke about it.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I had a girl on my team that used to cold call lead generate, and she was calling to set up a listing with someone, and the guy told us, like, well, it was when we were with another brokerage, and they were like, well, I've already spoke to somebody at your brokerage, and she said, well, not all bananas are yellow. As of course, that was the best icebreaker out there, and she was like, what do you mean? She's like, not all bananas are yellow. You might have heard it from one person, but you haven't heard it from another. And that's what I would encourage. Even if you've heard the model, you think you've heard the model, listen to it again, right? Because I do think it's where you are in your life. You know, Micah and Moody, I think Tara noticed as soon as when Micah moved to eXp, Tara noticed it on MLS, because she pays attention to everything and everyone, every business. She just dialed in, and she's like, oh, well, look at this. And I think were having conversations for like 7 years about eXp. Like, I think if you ask them, we've had to have been the longest fish. Like, oh,
this is starting to make me feel better. I feel better now.
Like, yeah. Well, I've met everyone in the company at one point in time. I was in Vegas, and Moody's just like, this is like 4 years ago. It's like, hey, you want to meet Glenn Sanford? I'm like, and I told Glenn Sanford to his face in Vegas, in the Aria, I will never join your company. I saw him again in October. I joined your company.
I told him the same thing like 8 years ago. Yeah, I was hoping when we got to talk the last time we talked with Glenn is that he would not remember me saying it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's good. I hope he's, that was, but in that time, and if you start looking at I think when I talked to him, I think he called, or when I got in the conversation, they had 10,000 agents across the United States. Okay, 10,000 sounds like a lot, but 50 states with 10,000 agents, okay, come on.
Right.
That's good, big deal.
Right.
I mean, kind of like, keep them up. Yeah, big deal. So what? I had 300. You got 10,000. So what? Right? But then that next conversation, you look up and go, they have 70,000. And now in 24 countries. Mm-hmm. So it just happened in this short window. And I've never, and I like to study, other real estate companies. I'm kind of I guess I'm a historian of real estate companies, but I've never seen a company grow this fast, and you can tell where it's headed. It's not going to be stoppable.
And it's profitable.
That makes money.
That was it was, because I do the same thing. I love to look at companies, businesses in real estate, and I look at their profitability. And, I was looking at, reading about last year, 2022, and there's, from what I read, hoping somebody can message me if I missed one, but pretty much everyone lost money last year but eXp.
I just feel like nobody's going to want to talk to us.
They're probably
not.
We're
oh God. Well, they want to talk about history of real estate.
History of real estate.
I'm okay, we're fun.
But I thought it was interesting. It's like I said, eXp is posting million-dollar profits, multi-million-dollar profits. They have 130 million. I could be wrong that the number might be higher, of money in the bank. And then you have, people models that are like, I love the Mona Lisa analogy is pretty amazing. But the other models that are trying to replicate it, and they're losing 10, 15, 20 million dollars. They're upside down, not profitable. So it's not only are they growing, but they're growing profitable, which to me is
It's really hard to ever duplicate an original.
Yes,
it is. It's very hard to in any company. Once once it happens, there might be another Amazon someday. It's not going to be for a while.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's Amazon.
It'll be, there are other types.
Oh, sure.
But none of them are going to be as efficient, as profitable, and do what they have to do, because what they're doing is taking a great model and trying to improve upon it.
Yes, I'm going to tweak it.
Because if I was king.
Yes. But, yeah. No, this was we're excited. I feel like an enormous weight is off of me. Mm-hmm. I mean, just and every day that one little thing that'll get brought up about whatever running a company, and it's like, oh, I'm never going to deal with that again. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not, which is really fun. And some of it's little bitty things that you don't even think about, IDX feeds. And I'm in now, or was in 4 different boards, right? So that's, in Lawton, Stillwater, Tulsa. So those are just more feeds you deal with every year. There's more fees and feeds you pay, right. All those. Yeah. And then you're going it's all gone away.
Well, and you're doing what you enjoy doing.
Oh yeah, love this part.
I mean, I don't know an independent broker. Now, if you're interviewing brokerages, ask your broker, ask the owner, what do you love doing? And if they're the broker of that company and they say they love leading and training and developing, they're probably not doing, if you're running a company, you're spending more time handling issues.
Yes, that's what you do.
You're not leading training. You're having somebody else do it. No, in all honesty, right? I mean,
yeah.
How many times have you're on the phone with the commission handling things? If you're running not in a negative way, you're answering questions. You're handling customer disputes. You're handling contract questions, right? You're not spending time doing what you're passionate about, which led you to get into real estate. That's my perspective. I've not met very many agents. Like, why do you want to start a brokerage? Oh my goodness, I want to deal with E&O. Yeah. I really love talking to angry client sellers.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. And occasionally, I hope for the occasional real estate commission investigation, because agents sometimes don't do things perfectly, and I got to explain why we're protected. No, I love training, educating, I love creating income, I love working with buyers and sellers. Well, that's why we do it. So, but then I talked to which is interesting. You talked with eXp because they're company people. Why did you decide to be the broker? Because I love to support the agents. I love that they actually are passionate about that part of the business. So that same thing. It's like I get to focus on what I love doing, actually training, actually educating, actually talking to other agents, helping agents create income. And then when, the compliance portion of it, I'm not having to look at every single contract to make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed and we actually have a valid agreement or valid listing agreement or whatever.
I know. It goes on and on.
It does.
And I think one other thing that I think people always thought or think is that, because I've ran a brokerage, started with 3, got to 350 something agents. So I've ran the spectrum of every size you can imagine. So it's like if it always is kind of like that next hill. Like it's like, okay, well, if you've got a brokerage that has 20, when I had 20 something agents, I was still actively selling real estate. I mean, I had to.
Right.
Then, you get to this point, you think, oh, well, when am I going to get out of this? So then you get, you're at 50 something. You go, okay, now starting to change. But then it took you can't, then the overhead starts increasing. Then you got to go, all right, now I got to get to 100, which by the time you get to 100, I think at one point there were only 20 something offices in Oklahoma that had over 100. So now you're getting okay, now I got to figure out how to get to that mark. So then you go to the 200 mark. Well, there were years it was very, very profitable. But then, once you get to the 300, then it starts again. The wheels start rattling. And there's a reason why companies, that have been around longer than me, it's really difficult to get over 300 and stay there.
Right.
Just because, for one off, because then the offshoots, the splits, there's 700 or 800 brokerages in just the Oklahoma City metro, right?
Right.
So they're coming from somewhere, right? And they're usually somewhere else, and then they generate out. So it's like I've lived every one of those that you could live. And I'm sitting here today going, eXp makes more sense. It's all the way around, financially, to your agents. I love the opportunity to have grown the company, Kiva, over the years, but it's limited. I'm limited by states. I'm limited by overhead. I'm just multiply limited. eXp allows me to do exactly what I've always wanted to do and intended to do.
And it goes back, not easily replicatable.
Oh, I don't happen to have couple billion dollars to go do this.
Well, yeah. Well, even if you invested the money and built up a team in another state, which you did, one day you get that call hey, it's like how the United States was formed. Why are we paying taxes to Great Britain?
He's never down here, right?
We don't know King George.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't know King Steve.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. And then who's always on the hook for the mortgage or the rent and the lease? Me. Right? You're always on the hook. You walk in there and you sign the lease agreement for 3 to 5 years, and you don't know if anybody's going to show up. Right. And you don't know if they're just going to check out the next day, and you're stuck with a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 bill a month.
And then, because it's as much value as we could create for people as an independent broker, which I think we have value, it can't match the value that a national global company has with the amount of benefits that he has. Down to, I tried to do healthcare one time with our agent.
I did too.
And I couldn't get it. We could not keep enough people in the program because either their spouses get it from another company, or they're retired military, or they just don't want health insurance, right?
Yeah.
So you can never keep those numbers to keep the agreement that you got. And that was our big problem but eXp, because one company nationwide, there's a group health insurance policy. And an agent that's saving, then she told me her insurance went down $600 a month.
Okay, so that's a big deal,
and
right?
She said, I'm never
$7 grand.
I'm not really sure. I appreciate the free stock. I'm probably not going to do the equity. She was having a transparent conversation with me, and then but she goes, but oh my goodness, I'm saving $600 a month. So there you go.
Yeah, like they always say, every $600 extra a month helps.
Hey, I was excited. Buying health insurance with mass casualty, I had to be partially blown up for my insurance.
To work?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, every one of my family's members has probably a $20,000 deductible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's I lost an arm. We can now start.
That's right.
Now kicked in.
That's right. But it only covers if you lose the other one.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Then they'll pay you to put that one back on. But the first one's on me.
I mean, so from the agent's perspective, and I got it firsthand, when you look at an agent and you look at him and go, this will put more money in your pocket, right? That's that's why it becomes such a no-brainer. And when I looked at it, I thought, okay, well, even if you're in another company and you've got a cap and you're paying it in, you don't have any chance of getting it back.
No.
Right? I mean, you just why are you writing? That's what my agent said. Why would you go pay a cap anywhere that you don't even have a shot at? They're not going to at the end of the year go well, thank you for paying in your $16,000, $20,000 in a cap.
Or your $400 a transaction or whatever.
Yeah, it's
you jump in.
And then you go, well, how much of that can I get back? Zero.
They're renting is what you're saying. They're renting, and we sell ownership in real estate, right?
Rent, yeah. Oh, that's a good way. Yeah, renting.
It's renting. Yeah, because you know how you drive a rental car versus your own car. No, you don't slow down over speed bumps. You just go. Potholes, who cares?
It doesn't need
right?
oil.
But so from listening to all the agents, and I've had, I bet 100 conversations, with my own agents, the questions, and eXp is answered long term for them. It makes sense. How are you? And we have very serious conversations. How do you retire?
Yeah.
And that's a huge deal that you really got to think about. You can go make $100,000 or $200,000, but most of us, if you don't go immediately invest it, you just have to go make another $100,000 or $200,000 because it just goes away.
The next year, do it again.
It's just over and over. And I don't want to call this as a forced savings plan, but it kind of is. I mean, you're just getting stock. I'm getting stock. I haven't even opened. I just now started realizing I could be getting stock. I may have stock now.
You do.
Yeah, and I did because when you mentioned it today, I was thinking, I know how this kind of stock works, and then it kind of hit me. I thought, oh, wait a minute, that whole deal with them making a first sale, and I end up getting some stock in it.
Well, you sell your first sale, they give you, they award you $200 in company stock. If somebody that you attract to the company, someone comes to the company, they come over, and they name you as a sponsor, and they sell their first transaction, you get $400 in company stock. Yeah.
And you got to really, and some of the things that I used to probably be when I was being my eXp hater hat on, I'd say, well, what's it going to go to? And then it really hit me and go, it doesn't matter if it's $1, because if it's 400 shares, or $400, it's still $400, right?
Right.
And then you go, what if it just goes up to 2? Right?
Right.
For something you're getting
for free. Just because, yeah.
There's just okay, this is done. I can't offer, this is good.
Well, that was that was for me, it was talking about the stock is, I didn't pay attention to it. I think I didn't either. It was about a month and a half ago, so we'd been with eXp a couple of months technically, and I had not even logged into it yet. I had to call the company to help me walk them through because I think I had done something, and they were like, yeah, you locked yourself out of the system. And I was like, yeah, I didn't want to mess with it. What do I need? And then I logged into it, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I had the company had awarded me a little over $3,000 just from the people that we've been attracting, things we've been doing. And I was like, oh my goodness. When Glenn Sanford says that it's an agent-owned company, he's serious. He's literally giving stock away so people have an ownership. They own a share of the company. And I was like, okay. He's actually legit about this. The rev share portion of it, he's like, no, I'm sharing the revenue, right? Because as a business owner, revenue is how you pay. You pay the bills with the revenue, and then you have your net.
Yes.
And this guy's saying hey, he's like, hey, I have a wild idea. I'm just going to share in the revenue, and then I'll figure out how to pay the bills afterwards. And that's why I think in the beginning probably why we had our eXp hater hat on is because the business owner was like, it'll never work. He's going bankrupt. It'll never work. It'll never work. pay people before you pay the bills. That's stupid.
Yeah, right.
And then now you're sitting back going, okay, yeah, the company's...
It worked.
It worked. It makes sense. If you take care of enough people, they'll always take you. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you want.
That's it. And I think with the stock, I think when we start, what I kind of thought is like, okay, so I buy stock, right? But I want to watch stock with growth and watch what happens, right? So, but the stock that's coming from eXp, I didn't buy it.
No.
I mean, see, that's when it really hit me in the head. It goes like, okay, if I go down stock and I get my stock or buy it, like that was my money that left to go that I'm gambling with, right? This is stock that's just showing up.
Right.
That I didn't, I mean, I did something for it, but it didn't come out of my pocket to go get it. Which is like, that was like, okay, I don't care what it's worth.
Well, what's crazy about that though, when you think about like stock is based upon the valuation of a company. I'm not a big stockbroker guy, but the valuation of the company, right?
Yeah.
So that means if I sell real estate, I make the company better. If I teach my group to sell real estate, it makes you feel better. If I help your people sell real estate, but so if eXp continues to, like in our market now, eXp is the #1 selling brokerage in our market.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Right?
Yes, saw that.
And that continues to happen across the United States and across the world. I think that makes the company more valuable.
I'm not a stock expert really either, Peter, but I think you're onto something. I think it could be true.
Which is infinite around transparent conversation. Somebody was like, well, the stock, it used to be like at $160 and now it's only like 11. And I'm like, and I'm hoping it stays that way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to be like, one more year.
That's right. Yeah, drop it. I hope it is $1,
Yeah,
but
just for like a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Buy stock. So
right.
Because we do the equity share program as well. So we take 5% of our commission that we earn, and they sell it to us at 10% discount. Like, cause I'm all in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to help grow this thing, right? Because
yeah, we're doing that too.
I think last I checked, between the two, in 2.5 months or 3.5 months, we've got about $10,000 in stock. And I look at it as we have savings, etc. But how many agents have $1,000? How many agents have $2,000? Right? How many agents have $500 in savings? And you hear many people don't. But you sell a transaction, you have $200. You help somebody else, somebody comes over, now you have $600 in stock. So yeah, if you got $600 in stock at $10 a share, and it goes to it doubles and goes to $20 a share.
You're right.
Where's your value at? Now in 3 years you have because it vests, you now have money. Now you let it sit there, and the company goes to 100 and gets back up to $100, which I think I'm not a stock expert. I'm a dreamer, but if it gets back up there, that's a good day for you. And it's funny is I've had that because people have also said like, well, they'll give me the whole stock thing. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. How much stock do you have in the company right now?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? It's like
they don't offer it.
Yeah, because I was, I wish somebody would ask me that when I was being on the eXp tree. It's like, because it's true. It's like I didn't have stock in any other company. I was at a brokerage that you couldn't invest in.
Right.
The owner he's the owner, and that's the owner. You can buy a franchise if the other franchise owners decide to let you buy into it. And I tried. No. But then this guy's like, be part of my company.
Yeah. Take some stock.
Take some stock. I'll give it to you.
No,
buy some more. So anyway.
No, that you're 100% right. 100%
Mike, any other questions? We're just rambling now.
No, I think that's great. It's a lot of great advice, and I know that you guys have a lot of big plans on a global scale. So the biggest thing is how can people reach out to you?
Well, Steve, what's your number?
Let's see. You can reach me at 405-414-5979.
And I'm 405-532-6969. Call or text. Obviously, we're both on Facebook, Instagram. We're pretty Googleable. So if you don't...
We got Google Grid.
Yes.
That's what my kids call it.
Google Grid?
Yeah, if you pull up your name and you actually appear anywhere in the image, they will go, you got Google Grid.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a new term.
Oh, I did not know
and
that.
I know your theme is better together, so I think that's kind of unique in the real estate industry. So
Yeah, that was
that
when...
unity that's coming apart.
So I kind of, the people that are in our grouping, I call it the Better Together Network. Because it's, I have this thing that's like, now it's like I enjoy helping people. Right? Before all the secrets were held in.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's just like if I help enough people sell real estate, A, I make the industry better. But two, there is a financial reward. I'll be transparent about that. Anyone says they work for free, oh, no, you don't.
No.
I love my job, but if they didn't pay me, I wouldn't do it again.
You wouldn't be doing it for very long.
You go find something else, you know? So.
No, this is good. And, you know, and with us really combining, you know, with, you know, we intend to open, you know, more training, more access to us. I just had an agent ask me, they said, well, if I was ever really going to invest like in buy an online lead source, right? And I knew that you and Tara knew more about that than almost anybody. And before, I just told them, I actually don't know. I never did really ever buy a lead thing. So I talked to Peter about it, and he said, oh, yeah, just call so-and-so. We'll tell you what's, and I'm thinking, now, I don't think a year ago he might not have told me. He probably would have told me to Google it.
Manny, I'm not
I don't think we'd bought any leads
sure
ever.
Yet, but you might be able to look on Inman and find out.
Yeah. So that kind of collaborative power, it's like, you know, it's going to be fun to see, and we want, you know, just, again, to do what we love to do. Hopefully we can just attract more people into what we're doing, be a part of something big. Exciting that's happening.
That's why I'm building a building. You know, I'm building a 12,000 square foot. I keep talking about this 12,000 square foot building. There's a 3,000 square foot training room, and you know, most and this is just because I think real estate is. I think real estate. I love that the company is based online. It's virtual because then they can hire the top talent for the company anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Right.
But I think on a local level, or being able to bring people in on a local level, teach real estate face to face, 3,000 square foot training room. Why? Because I want to invest back into the agents. If their success is my success now. So yeah, absolutely. So
What is Gene Frederick's quote? eXp is making real estate fun again.
eXp is making real estate fun again. Absolutely.
That actually is, it's true. Yeah.
He has it trademarked, actually.
Oh, does he?
Trademark?
I think so.
Yeah, Gene Frederick.
Gene Frederick.
I got to pay him $1 now. Thank you.